Hello and welcome to episode 416 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about Dortmund's eventful Ruhrderby, Nico Schlotterbeck signing a 5-year deal, and we will preview tomorrow's game against Greuther Fürth. For all that and more. Ist nicht wahr. Fucking spam risk here. For all that and more, joins me Matthias. So, hello, Matthias. How are you doing?
I am doing well. My phone is on mute.
Yeah, well,
no, I'm doing well. How are you?
The problem is also the spam calls here always call twice, so this is not going to be the first time. It's going to ring in a second too. Maybe I'll mute my Apple Watch as well. But yeah, Matthias, lots to things to get to. But I'm still trying to keep this somewhat short. Since, the season is practically done. But nevertheless, the game against Bochum was very exciting. Even though it wasn't the outcome we all hoped for. But we had VAR intervened, we had handballs, we had a comeback and another comeback. And I think from our perspective, most excitingly, we had a start of Jamie Bino-Gittens. So I don't know where you want to start with this Saturday afternoon sold-out stadium game where I think a lot of Dortmund fans were left with a sour taste in their mouth.
Yeah, apparently Dortmund can dominate Bochum and not win.
Yeah.
Twice. We can't forget Bochum also beat Bayern this season. Which Dortmund did not. So, this Bochum team can play. These aren't scrubs. This is not like playing against Schalke. This is a good team from the Ruhrgebiet.
Right.
But that being said, it was just an odd game because on the one hand, you looked at it and went, Bochum kind of deserved it. And then you really sat back and think about it. And then you really, and then you look at, I've got FBref open right now, and you look at the numbers, and you're like, oh God, no, Bochum did not deserve to win this game. If anything, the scoreline should have been maybe the exact opposite, 4-3, or 3-1, or 4-2. But 3 handball penalties, all of them were handball penalties. So those were easy and simple. It was interesting that the referee, used VAR properly, as we had just previously discussed. And so, yeah, it's just a weird game. It was exciting. If I was a neutral, I would love to watch games like that all the time. It was the first time Bochum have won in Dortmund since 1998. I believe. So that was a little extreme. But yeah, you've got FBref open right now. Just look at the XG. Even if you take out penalties account for a lot, but the non-penalty XG for Dortmund is 3.1, and for Bochum it's 1.3. So, even if you take that out, it's clearly in Dortmund's favor. 70% possession, outshot them 16-11. Riemann was amazing for Bochum in goal.
Yeah,
he absolutely
in both
was.
games, really.
Yes. You also can't discredit the fact that Bochum scored 2 absolutely amazing goals. Gerrit Holtmann, take that shot 9 more times. I just don't think that's going to come off.
I don't know. I give him like a 4 out of 10. I think he has the technique down, to be honest.
Okay, 4 out of 10, fine, 40%.
Yeah.
And then Jürgen Locadia, that touch and turn was Messi-esque perfect.
I know.
And I don't think he pulls that off 9 times out of 10 in that situation with a ball coming at him like that. So all credit to Bochum. They played really, really well. They had a game plan that worked. If we look at pressing, I know we talked about if a team, like you had mentioned, a team has more possession, they're going to have less presses. But Dortmund had 129, and Bochum had 225. That's 100 more pressures, roughly. It was 96. And that showed. They were aggressive. They stood on Dortmund's toes early and scored 2 goals super early. It was 2-0 after 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is simply down to that aggressive approach. And of course, Gerrit Holtmann with a worldie of a goal. Sebastian Polter, it was unlucky that Akanji slipped in the worst possible time.
Right.
And he was wide open. If Akanji hadn't slipped, he would have been right there where the ball landed, and there would have been a goal. My issue with the Polter goal and the Holtmann goal isn't even the goal scorer, it's the assist giver, Asano, who was just given all the time in the world.
Yeah, let's look at his stats. He's neither tall nor heavy.
He's a little dude.
Yeah.
But it just, he was the difference maker in that first 15 minutes. Now, granted, after 15 minutes, Dortmund completely took over.
Yeah.
It was the Dortmund show from then until like the 80th minute. And then Bochum woke up again. But you could see that Marco Rose wasn't bothered, because look at the substitutions that were made after the 84th minute, after the equalizer. Renier coming in for Wolf, Rothe coming for Guerreiro, and I want to talk about Guerreiro in a minute separately. Papadopoulos coming in for Witzel, Mukoko coming in for Brandt, and two of the subs got bookings in the last couple of minutes too. It's one of those games where you play it again, Dortmund would probably win it. Statistically speaking, they were dominant, but Bochum did it so well, so early, that I can't begrudge them for this result, because, Dortmund were already secured in the Champions League. They're basically guaranteed to finish second. Second or third. Okay, there's a little bit of extra cash that comes into it, and obviously I think the pot you land in for the Champions League draw is dependent upon that. But Dortmund's goal is kind of there, and Bochum were then guaranteed to be able to stay in the Bundesliga. So overall, can't really complain too much.
No, here's the thing. I think I should be more pissed than I really was at the game, because I had this feeling of, whatever, it is a derby, yes, but first of all, it meant so much more to Bochum. Yeah. And maybe I'm failing as a Dortmund fan, but I just feel I could not have the emotion of hostility you usually have for a derby. I was actually happy for Bochum, which from a derby standpoint you should not be. No. But obviously they were really celebrating their Klassenerhalt, and so good for them. On the other hand, yes, I'm disappointed that Dortmund didn't really take it seriously as a derby, because I think there's still a difference between players and fans. Yeah, I can lean back and I can decide for myself, this is not the most important game in the world, and if they don't win it, it's not going to ruin my day. It's not going to be the end of the world. Plenty of Dortmund games this season have ruined my day /weekend /week. So for me, emotionally, it's actually quite healthy to, hedge this a little and say, okay, whatever. But it's, I think Dortmund just ran out of steam in the last 10-15 minutes. I think it also just comes down to the fact that they had a million injuries, and they basically just had their under 23 plus Ranier to bring on in the end.
Yep.
And obviously you can criticize the way that Paslak and Royce defended. I don't even know who ran into the box between them, but it was comical. Guerreiro was comical. Whatever Akanji did for was it the fourth or the third goal? I don't even remember.
I mean, think about it. What all gets lost in this? I mean, Holland scored a hat trick.
Yeah.
And like,
it's a nice reflection of the season that he scored a hat trick and it wasn't enough to beat Bochum.
I know. And on the day that his agent died, or at least it got confirmed that he died. I mean, we joked about it last week. Obviously, it's not joking because the first reports were false and then it turned out to be true. And, I mean, think what you will about Mino Raiola. It's always, it's not great that the man died.
No.
I think he was really bad for the sport, but he was really good at his job. So that's that. So that Holland turned up, got a hat trick on a day that I'm sure was a bit emotional for him. Was great for Dortmund. Defending wise, I've talked about this in years past about defenders and goalkeepers. Manuel Akanji has a high level of distrust for those around him as far as their ability to defend.
Warranted.
Correct. As has Mats Hummels in the past. And in those and has Roman Bürki in the past. And in situations where those types of players have distrust in those around them, they will overcompensate. And the moment they overcompensate and try too much, they too will be making mistakes. And I think that's what we've seen a few times with Manuel Akanji. We've seen that a few times with Mats Hummels. And it's particularly evident when those two are not starting, because whoever's next to them does not exude confidence, obviously. And even Kobel, when he was playing, when the back line was kind of iffy, I'm thinking Hertha, he made mistakes. He made Roman Bürki mistakes, which kind of, makes it Roman Bürki's poor performances a little bit more understandable in that sense that he's just trying too much. And when you try too much, that happens. Because let's be honest, and I want to say it was Lars who posted it on Twitter, the differences between Guerreiro and Bensebaini. Whereas Guerreiro is really good as a playmaker, as an attacking player, but you look at his defensive output, it's hot garbage. I mean, it is so bad. Whereas if you then look at Bensebaini, who's not an attacking threat per se, even though he's not bad, he scored some very important goals for Gladbach over the last few seasons. At the same time, he defensively is just significantly stronger.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
on YouTube,
not even...
you can see the tiles a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty... I mean, you look at the offensive output from Rafael Guerreiro. For those of you who watch on YouTube, and if you don't watch on YouTube and you're listening to this podcast, go to YouTube. What are you doing? Subscribe, like, and share. Sorry, old YouTuber habits.
Sure.
Offensively, Guerreiro, there's no question about him as a playmaker. Defensively,
he's in the 99th percentile in non-penalty goals, for example.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's just when it comes to the pressures.
His main job is to defend, because he is a fullback in a defensive line, and he does not do that very well. He's out of position far too often, and what I've always had an issue with when it came to him was the fact that when it comes to tracking back, he's very, very poor. I mean, very, very poor. His pressures, you could see it there, was at 18th percentile, tackles 52nd, interceptions 61st,
and aerials
blocks,
4th
clearances,
percentile.
Aerials 1. I mean, he's short.
Yeah,
whatever.
But
still, he probably wins as many aerials as Zagadou at this point. So, and Zagadou is twice his size. So that's an issue that needs to be addressed. We kind of joked about it over the last 2 seasons prior to this one, the amount of assists the opposition got coming over Dortmund's right side. I feel like now I don't know, but it feels like a lot going over Dortmund's left side. But, Dortmund have a fullback problem. We know that.
Yeah.
But the problem is really good fullbacks are very, very hard to find.
That's true.
And we're probably going to talk about it when we talk about Schlotterbeck and transfers and things like that. But getting back to the Bochum game, that was really what it was. I mean, Bochum played well. They had a great match plan. They pressured Dortmund. They stood on their feet, made it very difficult, and then withdrew. But Dortmund, yes, helped by penalties, but Bochum got one too, so who cares? Dortmund were not stunted in their attacks. I mean, they had plenty of shots. They had plenty of shots on target. They had great opportunities, but just didn't score. And we saw that against Bayern as well. Dortmund in the second half had plenty of opportunities to score and just didn't. And so it was a weird game. It really was just three handball penalties is not a normal game.
It was a really bonkers game, but still, I mean, the problem with Guerreiro is, if you're being brushed off like this, as he was in that one-on-one play in the, what was it, 3rd minute or so, right as Bochum scored, and then you were like busy complaining to the referee.
Exactly.
And even though me and Lars are blocked on Twitter by Guerreiro, we all know that he is active on social media and he very much knows about the criticism, and he is basically also playing for a new contract. So,
which reports are saying he won't get.
Yeah. What is bothering me though is that we're in this context not seeing a positive reaction from him. What we're seeing is more petulance and more non-performance. Now, do I know if he's 100% fit? No, but that's another reason that you have to calculate if you're Borussia Dortmund, because he does have injury issues all the time. And, obviously he is one of the best footballers we have on this team. But the question is, with his attitude, with his approach to the game, is this enough? And it's going to be weird if Dortmund lose one of their best footballers, which they will arguably not replace in this sense. I don't think too many people will be sad to see him leave, Matthias. And to me, that's concerning, because Guerreiro should have more ambition and more self-respect, to be honest. Because if people are making accusations that his lifestyle choices are not professional enough, that he is not professional enough on the pitch, that he is basically not a serious footballer, Schönwetterfußballer, as we say in Germany. I think that is the moment where he should really just step it up and say, okay, I hear what's being said about me, this is wrong, and I'll show you it is wrong. And he's not doing it. So to me, as a fan, that's very frustrating to see. And, ergo, we see a million rumors about potential left backs. But even if Guerreiro was playing well, we still would need another left back, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if we look at Bensebaini, I'm on the record. I'm not the greatest Bensebaini fan, because I've seen him play for Gladbach and I've seen him make too many comical positional errors. Sort of in the department of Murray when he started out at Dortmund, and when we were saying he's not good enough. I don't know if this can be fixed or not, but in terms of signing a solid left back, I'm not entirely convinced by Bensebaini. Now, that being said, Dortmund probably have the similar problem as they had when they signed Schulz, is that Bensebaini is an available left back, and the left back that Stefan wants is probably not available. So I don't even have a name where I say this is a good option. But when we look at his stats, and I'm gonna scroll down here, where we can then see the pressures. That's maybe a bit of a concern, only in the 35th percentile on FBref. Tackles also not great, but when it comes to interceptions, blocks, clearances, aerials won, he's all in the top 10%. And to me, that is at least somewhat encouraging. Obviously, we can also focus on the non-penalty goals and shots total and whatnot, but to be fair, right now, I don't care. I only care about the pass completion rates and progressive passes and progressive carries, dribbles completed, blah, 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 all this stuff. this is more where I have my focus and more importantly on the defensive department. Obviously, these are stats that are not entirely conclusive, but it gives you an idea of who the player is. So Matthias, I think it's likely that he will join Dortmund for around 12 million. He is not going to be our savior as a left back. I think Dortmund in the future need to do better as well. But it's a step forward. What are your thoughts?
He's also 27.
Yeah.
So he's not young, but that's technically prime. 26 to 29 is kind of your prime age. 28 is always seen as peak. So he will be a more solidly reliable defender. And really, if it comes down to it, if you take away conceding goals, if you just cut that number down by, I don't know, 20%, Dortmund's season already looks different.
Yeah, not too different. Not different enough to me.
Well, for instance, they wouldn't have lost to Bochum.
Probably, yes.
It's
but still, we conceded the 50th goal. The 50th.
I remember worse seasons because I'm old.
Yeah,
but
since 1998.
But you're still second.
Yeah, you're still second.
The saving grace is you're scoring a lot of goals. If you cut, and that's why I say if you cut down those type of defensive errors, positional issues, or not tracking back, Guerreiro's biggest issue for me, aside from him being poor in one-on-ones defensively, poor positioning, useless on set-piece defending. Okay, granted, those are a lot of things. But he doesn't track back. If you're going to go forward, you have to come back. And if you look at the team that probably has the best fullback pairing in football right now, Liverpool, their fullbacks, who are very aggressive going forward, also come back. And Guerreiro, over the last few seasons, it's too often that he loses possession, or not even him, the team loses possession. And he just, his kind of head drops, his shoulders drop, and he just, okay, I guess I'll jog back.
You don't have to be a body language expert when it comes to Rafael Guerreiro. That's it's not the best. It's not the most encouraging.
No. Let's be honest. You wouldn't accept that from 10-year-olds.
Maybe I'm a little bit more forgiving with the 10-year-old.
Not me, because I'm an asshole. But I wouldn't accept that from my son and his teammates. Right, he's 11, but they're not making millions playing for a Champions League team. It's just, and Rose talked about the team was tired. And then obviously that got subtweeted by people like, oh, all these millionaire athletes are tired. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. Tired is tired. Okay. Stop it already. But that's just not an excuse for a situation where you're brushed off by someone who's basically the same size as you. And it wasn't a foul. It was a shoulder to shoulder action that you see a million times over the weekend. And Guerreiro flapped up his arms, turned around, stopped, and complained at the ref.
Yeah, it was like he's a Bayern player in a Dortmund dress.
Yes, but the Bayern players in defense won't do that.
No, they will complain
once the action
after
is over. Exactly.
Then they will crowd the referee.
Exactly. Once it's over, bitch at the guy. Fine. Whatever. Have your little antics. But when it's still going, what are you taught, Stefan, as a child playing any team sport? You play to the whistle.
Play to the whistle.
You play until the whistle's blown.
Yeah. Or the fans will whistle.
Yeah.
That's not the whistle you want to play to.
And watching a professional at his level not stick to just defender who then in that moment of petulant selfishness left his team completely open, and they conceded a goal, one of the key goals, of course, in a match decided by one goal. Every goal is important. It's just inexcusable. I want him gone as soon as possible. And what's so sad about it is a few years ago we were like, we need him to resign desperately.
Yeah.
And for me now, it's like, gone, bye, out. The sooner we're rid of him, the better. I don't even want to. People are like, oh, we got to move him to central midfield. Why? Is his attitude going to change in a arguably more important position?
Yeah, I actually made this point. I remember a couple months ago, I said it, let's move him to midfield because he can't track back. But, you know, after I said it and when I edited the episode, I was like, well, actually, no, because there was complete idiocy because he needs to defend as well. And on every position, you know, we have conceded 50 goals and a big part of that is not the whole team not defending as a unit, and we need that defensive cohesion. And if you have Guerreiro in the middle of the park, you will also not have it. So
yeah, and we already have Julian Brandt doing the same thing. So I mean, we don't need Guerreiro doing the same thing in such a critical part of the pitch. So in that aspect, I think the sooner he moves on and Dortmund have a good left back, the better.
Yeah. So the other question I have for you is, how did you see Bino Gittens in this game?
I thought he was okay. He didn't make many mistakes. But at the same time, after a short while, he kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean, he was okay. He was okay. He had his moments. He didn't leave a lasting impression for me. I
mean, I must disagree with you. I thought it was a lasting impression, to be honest. I mean, I mean, first of all, the pre-assist was pretty neat. I thought he had a couple of good dribbles, and I thought it was promising. You know, I thought it was like one happy takeaway from this game is Bino Gittens looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, again, promising. He had some really good moments, but he didn't leave an impression for me.
All right.
You know,
fair enough.
But that's okay. I mean, given his age, I don't really expect that necessarily.
All right. Let's end the Bochum talk here.
Yes, please.
Because we have been waffling about that way too long. Because Dortmund did sign Nico Schlotterbeck, and that is obviously much better news for us. It was a very nice moment for us. I think on Monday when it was finally official. Now, Matthias, we've seen this coming. Obviously, everyone knew it was going to happen, but it's still nice that it now finally did happen.
Oh yeah, I mean this is I mean think about it. Dortmund are now building their defense for the future. Because you've got Niklas Süle, you've got Nico Schlotterbeck. These are younger players. I don't know how old Süle is off the top of my head. I'm probably going to make him way younger than he is. Maybe somewhere like 26, something like that. Possibly. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, he's 26.
He is 26. Wow, that was...
Good guess.
Scare myself. But you have young, proven... defenders that are also part of the future for Germany in the national team. Nico Schlotterbeck, it'll be interesting to see how he does playing in a team with a higher level of expectations. Obviously, that'll be key in big games against, you know, in Champions League and so on. But he's extremely good. And I'm excited to have him part of the team. It will, you know, I mean, the writing's on the wall that Akanji's going to leave. So he's the perfect partner with Süle and then Hummels as well to kind of help them both progress as players. And then we'll see what happens after that. But Dortmund aren't done there. They need if Akanji leaves, they need another central defender. And we've talked about this. We talked about it last week.
Yeah. For example, Amos Pieper, but...
Exactly.
So I listened to the Rose press conference today, and he, you know, obviously he's only going to say positive things, but nevertheless he said that he has a great left foot, amazing build-up player, has a fantastic positional play, and is a resolute tackler. All things we need, all things we were looking for, and also see more space for development. And he was also talking about the talks and the negotiations, and he said that they were very pleasant and they got to know each other a little bit. And Schlotterbeck made it clear that he's very ambitious and has big goals. So that's all good to hear, obviously, Matthias. I personally am really excited about this transfer. I think Dortmund signed a fantastic player, and I don't know what more to say really about him, because I mean, he's a German international. He signed a 5-year deal. The transfer fee, I think, is about 20 million plus 5 million in bonuses or so.
It's less than Nico Schultz.
Yes, obviously. So I think Dortmund landed an absolute coup. And the cherry on top to me is that Freiburg managed to land Matthias Ginter on a free transfer.
Yep.
In return, because Ginter obviously is a boy from Freiburg, and it says so many things about the Bundesliga. It says that Freiburg are, to me, it was a signal. I'll be honest, that Freiburg can land a Champions League caliber player like Ginter is amazing. The fact that Freiburg right now are in 4th place is amazing. So to me, that was a very great piece of business by Freiburg, and you can only commend them. And I personally think that Ginter will play even better football than he ever has, because Christian Streich knows how to play with a defensive structure, and he will benefit from that. So that's the only question I really have about Schlotterbeck, because he is playing well for Freiburg. How will that translate to Dortmund? Yeah. I mean, that's only time will tell. I mean, he's playing well for Freiburg, obviously having an amazing season, and he can defend. He can. He's a very good young central defender. So hopefully that transitions well to next season. Yeah, I mean, but it's exciting that Dortmund get the business done early. I think it's also really great for Schlotterbeck and for Freiburg that he announced it this early. Now he can focus on closing out the season, and then also hopefully winning the cup final.
Yes.
And I will have Abel Mesharos on Monday, hopefully, and we will talk a little bit more in depth about this transfer, because he, before Dortmund officially signed him, already WhatsApped me and was like, okay, I have more of an in-depth view on Schlotterbeck. So I'm teasing this now, and I'm very excited to hear from that. And now Matthias, the people on YouTube are seeing why our meeting is ending in 3 minutes. So we're going to take a quick little break now, and then we shall be back with a preview of tomorrow's game, but even more importantly, a little bit of Schadenfreude towards some fizzy drink company. All right, we're back, Matthias, and now we have one more game, one more away game, that is, against Greuther Fürth, who obviously are already been relegated. I think my biggest point of excitement is to get to see Tobi Raschel play, I guess. I was going to say that maybe Tom Roth or Gittens should get another run out, but Rose already said that they will be playing with the under-19. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we had a YouTube comment about that from Chief Warthrall or whatever. I haven't played World of Warcraft in a very long time, but he or she said that the under-19 played so well, and those players should reap the rewards of playing this entire season, and now they should also get to play in for the German championship in those playoffs, and they also, I think, have a cup final. So I think it's the right decision that Dortmund let them play there, and we'll see more of them next season. I'm convinced. Otherwise, personnel-wise, Emre Can is coming back from a suspension. Erling Haaland might be out because he was sick during the week. I haven't checked yet whether his trip to Fürth has been confirmed or not. And I think Rose talked about Manuel Feray and Justin Ninja being added to the squad from the under-23. So it's going to be another bare bones squad going to Fürth. If I don't know in what context you want to see this game. I mean, would it be nice for Dortmund to beat Fürth? Absolutely. And I think all we look for is now to live in the moment and live in those 90 minutes and just enjoy some Dortmund football. I mean, if we look at the table real quick, Dortmund have 63 points, Leverkusen have 58, and if we look at Leverkusen's remaining fixtures, they play against Hoffenheim in Hoffenheim this match day, and they play against Freiburg. So I'll be honest, I don't think even if we lose both games against Fürth and Hertha, I still Dortmund would still finish second because I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the last game where Freiburg play Leverkusen. That's the game I'm looking for, just because I just so desperately want Freiburg to be in the Champions League, because I do not want Leverkusen in there, nor do I want the Fizzy Drink Company. So I'll be honest, there are more exciting matches elsewhere, but nevertheless, Matthias, what do you want to see from Borussia Dortmund? Another Reaktion?
Well, it's like a reaction on top of a reaction. I mean, both teams are really just playing for the sake of playing, the pride of playing. I mean, Fürth have been relegated since the first match day. So, obviously not mathematically, but realistically.
Yeah.
It's great for them that they were in the Bundesliga. They're going back down. They're losing their coach, who's going to Hannover, which makes sense for him. Hannover will have more infrastructure for him to work with than Fürth does. Even though Hannover, are down near the bottom in the Zweite Bundesliga. Fürth, they gave Dortmund a good game.
Dortmund
last time
won
they met.
3-0, but still.
Yeah, but it felt like, this could have gone really sideways for Dortmund at the time.
Yeah. Also, so much bickering among Dortmund players.
Yes. Yeah, and I feel like the cohesion's a little bit different since then.
Yeah.
I think, entertaining 90 minutes. Ideally, Dortmund don't close out the season with like 3 matches lost or 4 matches lost in a row, especially if 3 of those matches are Bochum, Fürth, and Hertha. I'll
be honest, Matthias, if Dortmund were still in a title race, I think that Dortmund would win all these 3 games, especially the Bochum game. If it were really all or nothing for Dortmund, I don't think they're going to lose 4-3.
No, you can clearly see that certain players have moved on from this season. Unfortunately, it's all the defensive players that have moved on from this season. We talked about Guerreiro. Right back, who do we even have?
Emre Can, I guess, is our best option. Maybe Wolf, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Wolf will be here next season. He's proven himself. I think Emre Can will be here next season. Akanji, he plays for pride. You can never fault that, and I think he'll try his best. Zagadou, writings on the wall that he will not be playing for Dortmund next season. Nobody else is coming back except Emre Can, so yeah, he'll probably be slotted in at right back, would be my assumption. It really depends on how the match goes, I think you can put Wolf at right back and you'll be perfectly fine. Then I'd rather see Emre Can play in his natural position, which is in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, he should play the number 6 role.
Yeah. Have him play there with Bellingham ahead of him and probably Julian Brandt, because there's just nobody else left. And then up top, you've got maybe Holland. Reus will be there.
Hazard's out too.
Hazard's out.
Haaland made the trip. I just checked.
Yeah, okay. So I would assume that he's going to play. Reus is going to play.
And I guess you need Wolf as an attacking player.
You kind of need him on the wing, because then you'll put Paslak in at right back, probably.
Oh, God.
But again, and think about it. There are other people that are paid to do this, that jobs depend on this, and the pressures there. Marco Rose and his team, and Sebastian Kehl, and so on. And so, yeah, that's the season. Rose even talked about it after the Bochum game. It was like, look what we have to work with at this stage. You know, people are just tired. Well, I guess Witsel is there.
Yeah.
So Witsel will probably play in central midfield, which then could move Can to right back. Again, it's somehow throwing together a team to go out there and play. Guerreiro will probably play left back. And Hitz will be in goal.
Yep, and
probably
Unbahorn is it's going to be the replacement keeper for this game.
Yeah, not Bürki.
No.
I think Bürki probably shot Rose's dog or something at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm still hoping that he gets like the last game against
He
Hertha.
deserves it. I'm sorry, he deserves it. But be that as it may, you know, Hitz is
Well, my question to you, so there are two players that Dortmund could theoretically play as well in the attack, if you will. One is obviously Ranier, who hasn't done really much, and the other player is Moukoko. But I honestly think just bring him off the bench, like a good 30 minutes or so. I obviously want to see more minutes for Moukoko, but I think the starting 11 is pretty much set in stone. And if I have to predict this game, I'm going to say Dortmund win this 2-1. I don't think it's going to be another chaotic, high-scoring game.
No. I mean, Fürth is going to play hard. They're going to play aggressive. But once a goal comes in from Dortmund, I think then it's just going to kind of fall in Dortmund's favor. So, I think 2-1's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see more Moukoko, but he's had a very difficult injury season, which is unfortunate for such a young player. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily risk it at this point.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So yeah, I don't know what else is there to say. Really.
Well, first of all, who was it that pointed out that in the last episode, I was like, oh my God, can we somehow get rid of Renier? It was already his second season on the loan spell from Real Madrid.
Yeah, Adam did that.
It didn't even enter my mind. That's how incredibly forgettable.
Yeah, I raised an eyebrow to that, but I kind of let it slide because in my mind, I thought you knew it was going to be the end of his loan.
I completely spaced it because he's just that. I mean, he's a body with a shirt on it.
Yeah.
And I forgot that he had already been there a whole season because he's a forgettable, useless cost of money.
When you say that Bino Gittins didn't leave a big impression on you, I want to say that Ranier never really left a big impression on me. Like I cannot really remember even him in action, really.
No.
I mean, I think he scored one goal, was like a tap-in or so, but
yeah, maybe.
I don't know even when and against who.
Yeah, I mean, like I said about Bino Gittins, he didn't leave a lasting impression on me during the match where I went, oh wow, he's got the ball, let's see what happens. There were one or two moments, but that's okay. I don't really.
I'm not a starting debut. He doesn't. Yeah,
it's fine. Renier, I mean, Rainer, as I always affectionately called him, that just no impression. I think no impression is probably giving him too much grace. I mean, I don't know what's below nothing.
Right.
But that's where he kind of ranks for impressions for me.
It's kind of sad that it went all sideways for him, really. You know, this could have been a promising thing. I mean, I like everyone else.
If he was a good player, yeah.
Yeah, I watched the YouTube videos back in the day where he was, I think it was a Flamengo. I don't know, but usually if you play formidable in Brazil, chances are you will play all right in the Bundesliga too. But yeah, just did not have for him, didn't have the coach's trust. Yeah, it's a weird deal with Real Madrid. Dortmund probably trying to do a favor. I mean, they have relationships in that regard, but a complete head scratcher, and it's just over. So
not quite Hakimi.
No, not quite.
Just a little bit off of him.
Yeah, unfortunately, but like I said, 13 million. Lit a flame yet again. So, yeah, speaking of lighting things aflame, it looks like RB Leipzig are lighting their season aflame. And maybe as a last little point, Matthias, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm really impressed with what Eintracht Frankfurt is doing. First of all, the on-the-pitch stuff, how they play in the Europa League, how defensively organized they are, how cohesive this team is. It is amazing. And then to see this level of fan culture and make Barcelona look absolutely pathetic to the level that they say, oh, how can we allow 30,000 or 40,000 people into the stadium? This must never happen again.
That's why we lost.
Yeah, that's why we lost. Exactly. Obviously, completely embarrassing. But to highlight the positives here, it is great to see Frankfurt represent the Bundesliga in that way. And it is just lovely to see a team that actually wants to play in this competition and really plays hard. And now they're in the Europa League final. And on the other hand, I must say, seeing Frankfurt and their fans enjoy it this much and see what it means to them, it makes me hate Leipzig and this construct even more, because the, 150,000 fans or however many travel, it's just nothing there. And so I gleefully watched, well, I didn't actually watch the game because fizzy drink companies do not deserve my attention really. But I was gleeful to see them crash out of the Europa League. Obviously, if you are in the semi-final, I expect you to take it a bit more seriously than whatever Dortmund did in this weird playoff round. And kudos to Rangers. Obviously, it would have been nicer if Dortmund could be in the final as well, but it's not the case. So Schadenfreude right now is all I have. And I really hope that Leipzig also fail to make the Champions League. Maybe finish 5th and then also lose the cup final to Freiburg. That is sort of the wish list I have for the rest of the season. Because I don't know. I feel even more confirmed in my view that this construct needs to be abolished, and just the Bundesliga needs to be cleansed of all these plastic clubs. It's honestly too much, and when they qualify for Europe, there's just nothing there, and it's football is for people, and if they're not really people to enjoy it, then it's annoying. The same thing can be said about Wolfsburg, and I'm also not the biggest Leverkusen fan. I can dump them all in there.
I see Leverkusen completely different than Leipzig or Wolfsburg.
I know you do, or Hoffenheim.
Or Hoffenheim. Also historically, they're an old Oberliga West team. They've been playing at the highest level of German football since the 1950s. But that being said, obviously it's not the same thing. It's a Werkself. And for those of you that don't know, Werkself basically means it was founded as a team for the workers in the Bayer factories. Just like VfL Wolfsburg was founded as a team for the workers in the VW factories. Bayer Leverkusen have more pedigree than the other ones. They won a UEFA Cup in the 80s. They've won the DFB Pokal. They've been in a Champions League final. It's a little different, and for me, again,
but that's exactly my point. I don't want Leipzig to have any of this credibility. Correct.
No, because it's different. It's a completely different entity. Again, Leverkusen, having played in the Oberliga West days of the 50s, does change my opinion of them vis-a-vis Hoffenheim and so on. That being said, I'm not a big. I don't like Rangers. I lived in Scotland. I lived in Edinburgh. I'm a Hibs supporter. I don't like Rangers. I'm also not a big Celtic fan. But Rangers, I know there's also a history with Dortmund there. You think of Stefan Klose, played for Rangers. Paul Lambert played for Celtic. So there's a little bit of history there. I think Christian Nerlinger also played for Rangers. But to see Leipzig fail is, it brings such warmth and joy to my heart. Just like seeing PSG fail.
Oh, Man City.
Just like seeing Manchester City fail on this only stage they give a shit about.
See, this is why I love this YouTube
which is the
format,
Champions
because
League.
I can see you do the F ale. It's great.
Yeah, it's just it's all there. For me, granted, Manchester City and PSG are also not comparable to Leipzig because these are clubs. Okay, PSG has only been around for 50 years. Manchester City much longer. It was a club that I used to really like, and then when both of these clubs became sports washing entities of countries, it was like, nah, you're done. I mean, just go away. And seeing, even though Pep Guardiola is an incredible manager, he is exceedingly and annoyingly arrogant, plus a massive hypocrite. And so seeing, because he'll talk human rights on Catalonia, but he'll just ignore it depending on who gives him money. And so seeing these types of constructs, these types of teams fail brings me joy. Rangers have had their own problematic history. Obviously, they got reformed in 2012, I want to say. Not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. After, financial ruin, essentially. West Ham United, I'm a Tottenham man. I hate West Ham. So seeing Eintracht Frankfurt beat them was great, especially when you throw into the context that David Moyes was a complete piece of shit on the sidelines. I mean, to volley kick with that level of aggression and anger a ball at a child that had his back turned to him, and then have the Stones in the press conference afterwards to joke about it, but still criticize the Frankfurt bench for being unsportsmanlike, for asking for a red card for Aaron Cresswell. Yeah, you can fuck off. I mean,
it was a red card. I'm sorry. Both instances.
I mean, give me a break. So West Ham gone, great. If Eintracht Frankfurt beat Rangers, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Freiburg beating Leipzig, that would be better. No, well, it's not better than Dortmund beating Leipzig last season because nobody thought Dortmund had a chance in hell, and Nagelsmann is an insufferable, arrogant shit. So that was great to see him get stuffed for a third time by Terzic. And then I think this would then be, is this then Leipzig's third cup final in a row they lose?
I hope so. I'm not entirely sure.
Because I know they lost to Bayern.
Then they lost to us, yeah.
Then they lost. So yeah, I think it's three cup finals on the trot that they would then lose, which would just be great because I don't want Leipzig to have any success. RB Leipzig. Let's take the city out of this. I do feel bad for football fans in the city because they have a choice between RB Leipzig and some
obscurity,
fourth-tier clubs.
Basically.
That are riddled with neo-Nazis in their ultra scene. I mean, it is Chemie Leipzig not so much, but Lok Leipzig has a very checkered past when it comes to that. I mean, so I feel bad for the people of Leipzig.
If you're from Leipzig and you go to RB Leipzig games and you enjoy the football they play, I have nothing against you. Be my guest.
Correct.
In fact, support your local team. This is your local team. You may yourself not entirely agree with how it's being constructed, but once you fall in love with the football side and once you fall in love with the club, maybe, then that's just how it is. And then you're just out there defending it and how it's composed. And I've no beef against these people in per se. No, just, enjoy football. It's a hobby, basically. It's something you do to enrich your life with joy, if you will, or pain. And me personally, I will be accused as a gatekeeper, but yeah, I'm a gatekeeper in that instance because I would love to have more football culture around, and RB Leipzig just isn't that. So I'll be gatekeeping.
Correct.
and be enjoying my Schadenfreude when it applies. And this week, for the first time, it already applies, and I hope that the streak will continue because I think it's better for German football. Just look at Eintracht Frankfurt, and does SC Freiburg have the greatest football culture? Do they have 1 trillion fans? No, they are a mid-sized team, but nevertheless, that grew organically. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, over the last 30 years, I mean, really, Freiburg's history in the Bundesliga began 30 years ago with Volker Finke and the Breisgau Brasilianer. And the way they played and beat the likes of Bayern and Dortmund, and this is, Champions League winning Dortmund in the 90s, and didn't just squeak past them. They tore them apart with a style of football that was not typical in Germany at that time. And that whole region has produced some of the leading footballing minds of Germany. I mean, Joachim Löw played for Freiburg in the Zweite Bundesliga.
Yep, you can still see his bushy eyebrows in the old pictures.
Yes, and his haircut is literally the same. But that whole region is just full of people. I mean, that Schwaben region, Jürgen Klopp is from that general region. I believe Thomas Tuchel is from that general region. Ralf Rangnick cut his teeth in that general region. I mean, these are all some of the leading footballing minds of Germany of the last 30 years are from that general region. So Freiburg have a tradition. It is not Dortmund. It is not Schalke. It is not Hamburg. But if they could win the DFB Pokal, that is for them. Like when Dortmund won the Champions League in 1997. I mean, they can even take the next step and compete in Europe. Can they compete in the Champions League? No, that's just not going to happen in a season. But that money that they will get through Champions League qualification, Leipzig don't need that cash because they are a construct that finds funding from fizzy drinks. Bayer Leverkusen, okay, they needed a little bit more than RB Leipzig, but they too have more cash reserves. Freiburg, Frankfurt, Gladbach, Köln, Hamburg, Schalke, Nürnberg, Düsseldorf, Werder Bremen, Kaiserslautern, these are all the teams that the Bundesliga needs. And I will be right there with you, Stefan, and say that, no, we don't need Leipzig. We don't need Hoffenheim. We don't need Wolfsburg. Leverkusen, the Bundesliga wouldn't miss. The Bundesliga won't miss Augsburg or Fürth. But the Bundesliga needs those other clubs. More than, and there was a lot of discussion about, the UEFA president this week said, and it was quoted by Deutsche Welle, that the Bundesliga is a weak league.
Yeah.
Because Bayern have now won 10 in a row, and that's why Bayern can't compete in the Champions League. Funny thing is, Bayern won the Champions League
it's absolute
not
nonsense.
Too long ago. It's bullcrap. It's total garbage. And same to say PSG isn't winning the Champions League because they've single-handedly torpedoed Ligue 1 is also not true. That the one has nothing to do with the other. They were in the Champions League final against Bayern just a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, that should stand for some level of competitiveness.
Exactly. And I know UEFA would love it if Germany would get rid of 50+1. You would get all the sports washing money that you can find. I'm looking at you, Newcastle United. And it's just cash upon cash upon cash. But the Bundesliga is more than that. German football culture is more than that. And so I hope 50+1 stays forever. And if that means Bayern win 100 Bundesliga titles and Leipzig never win a title, I'll take that trade.
Fair enough, but I think it needs to be fortified. I think the loopholes need to be removed, and that in my mind would mean that Leverkusen, that Hoffenheim, that Wolfsburg, and of course that Leipzig would not have a license to play in this league. And I'll be honest, you said it, I would not miss them, and that's where I want the political progress in Germany and the discourse go further. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not the first to say that, and people have been battling and fighting these fights for decades. But nevertheless, I think it needs to be reiterated, and just seeing the Frankfurt fans, the way they behave and advertise German football, I think it just needs to be reiterated.
Correct. And we can't forget there are quite a few cases in Germany where clubs became overly reliant on single sources of revenue, of investment, that all went poorly.
Yeah, just look at 1860.
1860, KFC Uerdingen, Schalke, and of course Hamburg. Yeah. These are 4 examples of that. Now, obviously, there are other traditional clubs. They just screwed up. Kaiserslautern is probably the best example, where just infighting destroyed it. Werder Bremen,
you can lose. It's sport. You can lose.
Yes.
Other competitors.
It's not a closed league. It is not the NFL, the NBA, or the NHL, or the MLS. Nor do I ever want it to be. I love the NFL. I love Major League Baseball. But that's not what the Bundesliga is about. And that's why this whole Super League, all that kind of stuff, guaranteed outcomes, then why? Then just play FIFA, overstack your teams, and call it a day.
Yeah, I think we too will now call it a day, Matthias. I think it was a very fruitful discussion, even though unfortunately RB Leipzig are still competing for Champions League spots. But there's a good chance that they might not reach them. I mean,
Freiburg could be the culprit twice.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, obviously Freiburg need to beat Union Berlin and Leverkusen. That's tough. It's very tough. And then they have a cup final against Leipzig. Also, the way Leipzig play, let's be honest, it's designed for cup football.
Yeah.
Because it's Tedesco football. If they're 1-0 up, you're pretty much done. Like, your best hope against the Tedesco side is you take the lead, because then Leipzig usually have a tough time to respond from the way they're playing right now. But if they have the amount of individual players that Leipzig have, there's a good chance that my wishes will not be fulfilled. But I will deal with it when it happens. But in the meantime, Matthias, I thank you very much for coming on once again.
Yes, thank you.
And I also want to thank again all our Patreons who continue to support the show. And without you, I don't know if the podcast would still exist, but I showed this video format would not exist because you paid for this little thing here behind me. So thanks again for all our patrons for your very kind donations. And Matthias, I think that's pretty much all we have to say, other than the like, subscribe, share, etc.
Yep.
You can find our Patreon on patreon.com/theyellowwall. You can find us on our social medias, also at Yellowwallpod. And if you want to subscribe to this podcast, you can go also to our link tree, which is linked everywhere, I think, where you can then find every possible podcatcher. So, with that being said, we should be back on Monday or Tuesday, depending on when Abel has time. And then we will talk more in depth about Borussia Dortmund's latest signing, Nico Schlotterbeck. That's it from all of us. As always, thank you for listening and goodbye.